Joining the conversation, Andy Appiah Danquah, lawyer, member, Movement for Change, joins the conversation. We also have Kwame Nkrumah, General Secretary of the CPP. In a bit, we'll have our final guest join the conversation. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
This is a solid team.
Is it team?
We were cracking a bit of a joke here before we came on. We were being mischievous. Anyway, gentlemen, good to have you. I see all of you do well. All of you from the Movement for Change. You affafrantize a bit. You always look for some affafrantor linkages.
Yeah.
Something to show us a little, what do I say?
A little yellow hair. Or a shade of yellow.
A shade of yellow or curry or something.
Yeah.
You guys are doing well. You're doing well.
Yeah,
Kwame Nkrumah.
Yes, my brother.
Come to think of it, you bear the name of, the first Prime Minister, first President from right here.
That's true.
How did you come by that name? Today I'm going to inquire. I came with mischief.
Well, Kwame Nkrumah was my grandfather's close friend, Kojo Botsio. So when I was born, I'm the first grandchild. The family insisted I should be named after him. And he said no, he's going to name his first grandchild after his best friend, Kwame Nkrumah. There was a lot of family back and forth, but he had his way. He had his way, and that is how I came about the name Kwame Nkrumah.
Wow. Have you told this story anywhere before?
A few places.
A few places.
Yes.
That's interesting. Anyway, well, let's get right into it like we usually do. Any thoughts on your mind before we get into other matters, Andy?
So let me take this opportunity to wish your viewers a good morning and a Merry Christmas. I'm always excited to be in my brother Kwame Nkrumah's company, and always a privilege to be.
Because you like mischief, so we do. When you come in my company, you like it.
Oh yeah, certainly.
That's
we certainly flock together. Yeah, so we are still in the Christmas season, and this season is special because of what it represents. Christmas represents, in my opinion, one of the greatest things, in fact, indeed, the greatest thing ever done for mankind, when God himself came in the form of man to come and pay the price so that we may gain salvation. And so Christmas essentially represents restoration, when God himself decided to pay the price so that he could restore the original relationship that existed between God himself and man. For us as a country, in this spirit of restoration, that as we enter into 2025, after an epic election, that there will be a restoration of the vision for which Ghana was founded by Osagyefo himself. You understand? That will be a country where, in spite of the fact that we constitute an amalgamation of different nations, we place that second and put the Ghana agenda first. That we restore the loss of political credibility, that there's a restoration of economic credibility. Right. That we all come together as one people to build this country, to entrench the principles and values of the rule of law, to entrench our respect for all mankind, irrespective of where you are from or what profession you are in, that together we can lay down the blocks that will cause the beginning of the restoration of Ghana taking its place as the Black Star of Africa. And I think for me, that's the message that I want to give to our fellow Ghanaians, that we should all come together and put our partisan consideration aside. I know John Mama says reset, and that reset is essentially a reset for Ghana, you understand? And that reset represents a restoration of all what I'm talking about, that we all come together as one people and support him to succeed as president, because when he succeeds, Ghana succeeds, and we all succeed. So Merry Christmas once again to everybody.
Merry Christmas to you too. Opesa Ghana fan into my prefer.
Simple. No, I can't be brain.
You, my bonnet of farmer.
I don't know.
Go.
You know when he started with For God So Loved the World, I think I remember that you were SU House rep.
Yeah.
Yes. When we were in school. It was SU
both of
House
you
rep. We're in
Accra?
Achimota together.
Yeah, same year. He was my OE president.
Hey, and a minimum. You are something from me.
Oh no, but I think I said it here.
I just didn't know that both of you were in the same year.
In fact, the same
were you in
year.
the same hall?
No.
We're next to each other, rivals, Cadbury and Jubeg. Heavy rivals.
We produced J.J. Rollins.
Yeah, there will be Catholic schools where we are doing Saint and this and that and Cadbury. You see, hey.
So we gave Ghana J.J. Rollins. They gave Ghana Atta Mills.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
And then we were both mates at the law school. So I think you should.
Yes.
That's interesting.
We've been together for a long time.
Time,
Yeah.
Since 1995.
Yeah, like since 1995.
We're going on 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years.
30 years.
Whole generation.
January. Yeah.
whole
Since
generation.
January 1995.
Yeah.
We've been together for 30 years.
But just, you know, when you spoke about, my apologies, the Christmas bid, it reminded me of a song and even something we say, he paid the debt he did not owe.
Yeah.
We owed the debt we could not pay.
Wow.
It's an interesting, you reminded me of that song. It's been a while. It came to mind because of what he said.
Yeah.
I'll recover.
So in the same, I mean, it's strange, but I was also coming by the same tangent that for God so loved the world, Christmas is about giving, that he gave his only son. And if you juxtapose it with the recent election, the same passion with which we gave our vote to our parties, we should use the same passion to reach out to our needy neighbors, the orphans, the widows. It's, the word says that true religion is to reach out to the widows and the orphans and even the prisoners. For all you know, your neighbor has not had a meal. I mean, you have some used clothes, new clothes. Donate it nearest orphanage before you resume work and you are too busy to do so. Between today and the end of the year, try and do that. And as I land out, another thing on my mind is the law passed by by His Excellency Appiah Danquah Akufo-Addo, opening the borders to all Africans. I think it is one of the things that...
I think making Ghana visa-free.
Visa-free, yes. I think it's a step in the right direction. I know a lot of people have expressed some misgivings about crime rates and all that, but these are our brothers. I believe His Excellency John Mahama, he's competent and capable enough to put in the various structures to make sure that our brothers can dwell with us in unity. It's a step in the right direction. It has always been the world against Africa. It's a good thing for us to team up. We put things in place in order to be a force to reckon with from 2025 onwards. That's what I have for today.
Let's, a few issues are on my mind right before we get into the news portals. I'll just throw them at you and then you can share your reflections with me. One, the 9 constituency saga and now whether recollation, third collation, whatever, additional counting, the entire saga to do with that. The other one has to do with the New Patriotic Party and how the party has addressed its defeat. I've heard so many things. The last one I heard was that, oh, the NDC rigged the election. And I when I heard that one, that one took me by, I was like, hey, did he really say that?
Oh, dear.
Denial. State of denial.
So that's another angle to look at. But there's also this issue of WAEC not being able to complete the WASI papers, marking and all of that because, you know, objectives, there are technicalities, and it's saying it is severely handicapped financially. A few days ago, we had Education Minister Dr. Yawase Duchum come and say that by the 29th, this will be done. Then John Kapi of WAEC comes to say, no, it can't be done. We've actually, at this point, we've only done 45%.
Wow.
Of the marking, of the work. 55% is left. Why am I bringing it up? Because Vice Chancellors Ghana have met and their secretary is also worried because once this happens, it throws the entire academic calendar at the tertiary level out of gear. And then there's a whole lot of maneuvering. You remember what COVID did to the academic calendar? This means this one, it's a saying on kind of own goal.
Yeah.
We have literally, that is the other issue. What are your thoughts on these three matters? I'll start with you.
Yeah, so I think the first issue was on the coalition, recoalition, and all the shenanigans. And you see, for me, the issue of election is one that is governed by law. I think, and it's governed by law, drafted and taken upon themselves by the AC itself, in the terms of our constitution. So the AC has the power to make laws that will govern their own processes. I think in this issue, the law that governs is CI 127. And I think the issue of what happens when anybody has an issue with a result declared, whether that declaration was illegal, whether that declaration was made under duress or whatever, I think it's pretty clear. You understand? And so I must say that not only was I taken aback by all the issues that have arisen concerning this issue of the purported recoalition after the declaration, but then its impact on the integrity and how we perceive our EC. Because I think if there's, as in when we do a postmortem of the governorship of Nana Addo, one issue that I think we must not lose sight of is his impact on the integrity of the EC, or the perception of Ghanaians about the ability of the EC to deliver elections which are not only free and fair, but which will be perceived to be free and fair when he appointed people who were perceived to be NPP members onto the EC. And so the feedback from everything that is happening is this is not a case of the New Patriotic Party attempting to steal certain seats from the NDC. Also, I was also pretty shocked at the decision of the High Court on the Mandamo's issue, both in terms of the procedure and also the substance itself. Because if there's one abiding principle of our system of law is the need for, or respect for the principle of natural justice.
Natural justice,
yeah. And beyond that, also on the substance of the mandamus itself. The mandamus being a judicial what's called writ that is issued on a public official to compel the person to do something that something legal, or that they ought to do legally, that they are refusing to do, whether or not the mandamus order granted the court has met the substantial law requirements. So for me, those are my issues. As in the long term, already Ghanaians do not trust in the EC, and I think everything that's happening with the coalition and recoalition takes a lot away from the already mistrust that the Ghanaians have with the EC, and I think is very unfortunate. Thankfully, I understand that there's a court process going and I pray that it corrects and at least restore a bit of the loss of integrity or the negative perception we have concerning the EC, and to a large extent the judiciary itself. On the issue of the NPP, I think they will need to be honest enough. There's something that has always worried me.
But rigging is rather, it's almost like, it's like saying, oh, you didn't sleep well yesterday, and it's because aliens came and they were haunting you.
Or is it a case that
quite a stretch?
Or is it a case that when they win elections they rig, they do so because because you are government in power, you've lost elections. It's because, but you see, for me, and you see that reason for their loss is very preposterous, and also tells me why, or enforces my view, or explains to me why our politicians always seem to be looking for power, but clearly don't want to work. Because they lost the election because Nana Addo, the president disposed, gave us terrible leadership. Unprecedented, terrible leadership. That's why they lost. And the role the candidates they presented played in that terrible governorship. It's like he did contrary to everything, almost everything he said.
In fact, yesterday, just to chip in, speaking to former Akufo spokesperson, former President Akufo spokesperson, Frank Ejegum, said that indeed the president had quite a bit of a role in the mess and in where the party finds itself in terms of its electoral fortunes.
Yeah, exactly. Because you see, for me, we need to understand it. So there's government and there's party. So there's a role a party plays. This party decides to sponsor a candidate, believing that that candidate who belongs to their party is going to give governorship or leadership that aligns to their values, their principles. You understand? Now, they sponsored Nana Addo. Nana Addo came and delivered a leadership that was adverse to the values and principles of the NPP. And the party sat down aloof and allowed this to happen to Ghana. You understand? Secondly, what kind of environment or ecosystem did the party themselves create to allow somebody like Nana Addo, who in terms of the leadership he granted us, you understand, showed us that his principles, his values did not align to the party's values. And then after this has resulted in a calamity, the fact that the NPP didn't have the courage, the NPP as a political party did not have the courage to speak out when clearly the president they sponsored was granting a leadership which in all forms and shapes was adverse to their own values and principles. And can we then come back and have the cockroach audacity to tell Ghanaians that...
Cockroach audacity?
Yeah, cockroach audacity. You understand? To tell us, because you see, it's essentially what they did with Nana Addo was that they gave Ghanaians a check. They gave us a number of checks. Give us the check of political or of good governance. Right. That, you see, we are presenting Nana Addo to you. Vote for him and take this check. Take this check to the Bank of Good Governance.
Right.
We took the check to the Bank of Good Governance and it was a Dutch check.
You were bounced.
We were bounced big time. He said, take this check to a prudent financial management. We took that check. He said, vote for Nana Addo. Nana Addo himself referred us to Bawumia. You understand? He indeed gave us the principle of the Hattarization of the city. Sydney Hatta.
The Hattarization
of the city. But the Bawumia, and we also, right now is over around 6. When he said that, it was about 2 cities. 3. Right now it's about 16, 15 cities. So we took the check of prudent financial management to the bank. It was bounced once again. He said when he comes, he put his presidency on the line concerning his management of our environment, the Galamsey Menace. We took that check to the Bank of Environmental Protection. That check also bounced. And so when the NPP presented to us Dr. Bawumia, we remembered that check. You understand? And you see, remember that check, and we gave them a gap. We gave Dr. Bawumia a gap. Now the NPP will be doing them.
He did call for a gap.
And we gave him a gap, a negative gap.
But Ghanaians did not give him the gap he wanted. He wanted a gap in the reverse position. But Ghanaians decided to do otherwise.
I'm sure when he was talking about a gap, he was thinking about maybe 50%, 47%. I'm sure that was what he was thinking about. We've given a gap that's taking him to the 30s. You see, the point is, the NPP will be doing themselves a massive disservice if in their postmortem of what we rejected the candidate they presented to us, they fail to think or accept the terrible or calamitous leadership the candidate they gave us in 2016 granted us. Because at the bottom of everything is Ghanaians telling them that, listen, Nana Addo failed. He failed as a leader, and we do not trust in the ability of your party to present to us a leader who represents our collective values as Ghanaians. So secondly, and just to round up, you see, the party itself has a character. That character has been altered radically by Nana Addo. You see, the party had a character which flowed from their values and principles of a firm belief in the values and principles of liberal democracy. That character has been altered. Right now, the NPP as it stands now is is fueled by the character of Machiavellianism, which simply says that the end...
That's a bit strong,
in fact, it's very mild.
Machiavellianism is used in a very derogatory sense.
Yes, and that is exactly how, that is exactly the kind of message I want to send. Because you see, for them, for Nana Addo, is the end justifies the means. And unfortunately for them, the end is power. But in politics, power isn't the end. Power is supposed to be the beginning. Because we grant you power so you can serve.
Okay.
You understand? But for them, power is the end. So when they had the power, what did they do with that power? They didn't use the power to serve Ghanaians.
Okay.
They used the power to advance their parochial interest.
Right.
And unless they take steps to alter that character and cause a restoration to the original NPP, to factory setting, to an NPP that was the embodiment of the values and principles of liberal democracy, then I can assure them that the 30-something% that they will get, if they don't take care, the next election it will be going into the 20s. You understand? They need to be honest.
Okay.
They need to have a proper introspection and correct the things they did that enabled this calamitous leadership in the first place.
Kwame Nkrumah,
Yes.
I want us to also not forget the WAEC issue.
Yes.
And maybe if later you want to come to it, you can do that. But when he said that the party must reset itself, that is the NPP,
Yes.
I said, okay, so someone says he's resetting Ghana. And in another way, someone too has to reset the party. But quick thought,
Yes.
do you think while everybody is entitled to his or her opinion, and of course, I've always said that for Akufo, yes, there were things that happened under his regime I did not like, but I still hold him high as one of our best leaders in the Fourth Republic. Do you think it was a mistake to throw his support behind Bawumia?
I don't think so. I do not think so. I honestly believe that Bawumia is a gentleman in his own right, accomplished at the Bank of Ghana. However, this particular election, it was quite obvious, getting close to the end, that it was going to lose. At a point, I honestly thought it would go for a second round, and that second round, NDC would win. I didn't think it would be such a massive loss. So his loss has more to do with the acts of the government itself, regarding galamsey, regarding corruption, regarding a lot of other
Acts of a government he was a part of, especially if you want to look at the economy.
It's true. It's true. It's true. And we as politicians, we always have to advise ourselves not to toe the party line too much. You know, at a point, your hands seem to be tied, because if he had spoken out against some of these things, because it's obvious nowadays, a trend is that the vice presidents become the president. And I blame him for not speaking up, of course. But I can also say
if you stay mute, it's like at weddings.
Yeah.
Speak up now.
Or forever hold your peace.
If after they proclaim, you now come and say,
Yes.
oh, you were sitting there, but you now come and say, Charlie.
Yeah, so So I'll put that at his doorstep. I'm sure he saw these things happening. As to whether he had a hand in them or not, I cannot say. I cannot say. But as an objective, as we say in law, as a fly on the wall, I don't know him that much. I mean, I've met him only once or twice in person, but I don't see him as somebody who would encourage those things that went on. But he probably held his peace, because he realized if he had spoken up, he would have probably lost the candidacy. So it's at his doorstep. But as for Nana Addo throwing his weight behind him, you know, within political parties, you don't really... Akufo throwing his weight behind Bawumia. Well, honestly speaking, I think he could have remained neutral, because he had no obligation to throw his support behind.
But it's his party.
It is his party.
So if you asked me, just why I'm posing the question, I got the feeling that there was a sense of our candidate may not be doing so well.
Exactly. Yes.
He may be drowning.
Yes.
Godfather, come and give your...
Exactly.
Maybe not necessarily because he would have.
Yes.
But party elders, Charlie, can be bina a man for. But I feel the problem with those, I may like you, And you see, we often talk about these things about, oh, this person is a gentleman. Oh, this person is... Masa, those characteristics are good. When it comes to leadership, hard leadership and governance, it's not about, oh, or you're cratchy. There be... to me, and yeah, cratchy but it's the cratchy we've done. That is why we are here. Oh, he's nice. Oh, he's nobody. So I'm not denigrating the person of Dr. Bawumia, but I don't know whether we shouldn't go beyond this bit about, oh, he's nice to people. Oh, it's like back then in school, people will vote for certain, oh, they won't fail. Exactly. No, go ahead.
So I think I would say he's a technocrat. I don't see Dr. Bawumia as a politician. I would say he's a technocrat, but he has learned his lesson, and he would know the kind of political advice that he should take going forward. You see, going forward. And as you said, I suspect some heavyweights pushed President Akufo to give his endorsement. Now, going back to the item number 1, the 9 constituencies that have been recollated, I have, as I always say, I have full confidence in our Supreme Court to show us the way. I don't know which way it will go today. But in my estimation, it is a very, very complex case we have in our hands. Some have asked, was the EC complicit in all this? I would say no. I still stand by the Electoral Commission. I know that there are suspicions that some of them were NPP sympathizers and all that, but with working with Madam Jean Mensah for some years now, I still think that as much as possible, they always do things right. If you look at the court action in the High Court, it is not the EC who took the recollation or the collation issue to the High Court. It was the NPP. And the NPP in that mandamus action is an affected party. Their claim is that it is not a recollation, but a collation, because some of the polling stations were not counted. So the mandamus action is to compel the EC to do the counting.
Right.
However, the grievous mistake they did there, and which Andrew has alluded to, is that they breached the fundamental law of natural justice, the audio term, the right to a fair hearing. Right. And based on that alone, I believe, I cannot preempt, I believe that NDC's petition in the Supreme Court today may succeed, because that is a fundamental right. There are a few instances where it is waived. In the case of an injunction, you can get an ex parte injunction where you don't serve the other side. But something as fundamental as this. And some are saying the court may be complicit. I don't think so. You know,
I've seen some people suggest that it's going to be, if some people are not on the, the panel, then it's going to be this number and the permutations. I'm just watching to see how it goes, so I can sit in my corner and laugh.
I always tell people that if the judiciary was meant to get it right all the time, we would not have appellate courts. Exactly. You see, we would not have appellate. They are human. They have their workload. They get it wrong sometimes. But I would not say there's anything untoward happening. But I suspect that it may be reversed. I could get into the technicalities of the whole thing, because it goes against so many other things. As our learned senior lawyer Kwame Kufu also pointed out, the 7 days for the respondent to have responded was not adhered to. I think NDC should have been allowed to join the action and should have been given
because it also affects
exactly.
And then let's quickly look at the WAEC issue and then get onto the news portals. I don't know whether you're going to say anything.
Yes. Well,
I am personally worried, because what this does, I mean, the turmoil for students, for parents, planning, and the institutions themselves. This is a big problem. Massive problem for them. Not to mention even WAEC itself. And conducting future exams.
It's a big problem, and I really feel sorry for the students. I mean, here in our year group, after BC, we had to stay home for a very long time. After SSC too, we had to stay home for a very long time, because if you put it all together, we lost a lot of
2 years.
productive, a lot of productive time that we can never
Forced
regain.
gap years.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Forced gap years. After everyone, you take one.
Yes. Whereas in the West, it's a choice. You
Yeah.
can decide to take a gap year. Over here, it is foisted on you. So it is a huge, huge embarrassment. I honestly don't know how this could have happened. I mean, in these last days, a few things seem to have been going well for the NPP. Maybe just to massage their egos a bit with the increased growth rate. And I hear there's a slight drop in the exchange rate to the dollar.
It's somewhere around 15.
Yes, and also the open borders. But this threatens to derail all that. And I believe they are just shy of about 2 weeks to the swearing in. And well, in Ghana, they say we're all magicians. They should try and do something about this. Otherwise, they'll have to forget about even 2032. I mean, if they are not able to, because there's so much that has been against them. If they don't sort this out, then maybe for the next 2-3 elections, they may have to forget about coming to power.
And I know you want to delve into the white bit. It has to be very brief. But at the same time, you must feel sorry for the incoming administration. Because all these problems, they're going to inherit.
I may be wrong, but I think the WAEC issue is simply an issue of the government owing WAEC money. Is that the case?
It is, but is it that simple? If giving them the funding were that simple, don't you think they would have been given the funds by now? And mind you, do you know why I say it's going to be a big problem? You know, it's not just WAEC. Petroleum sector, oil sector, different. I mean, the number of entities that government owes money, who sometimes will say, we can't do X and Y because government, even looking at the banking sector cleanup, the number of entities that said, but you owe me hundreds of millions. If you had paid me what you owe me, I will be solvent. And now you are coming after me that I am insolvent.
Exactly. And even beyond that, the 12 billion money they took from people's pockets. So, you see, I know, sometimes you want to be nice to the government, but you must say things as they are. They are massive failure. They're so-called, because at the end of the day, WAEC is supposed to be an independent body, a certification body. You came and said free SHS, and your legacy is that you owe WAEC, and because of that, you are going to disrupt the academic calendar once again. So, and we don't have time, but listen. Fortunately, we've given them a gap. You understand? I hope His Excellency John Mahama will learn from this. Your job, like you rightly said, is not about that you are handsome. It's not that you are nice. You are supposed to give leadership. That will ensure that you create the right ecosystem where all of our individual ambitions can find itself and thrive within that ecosystem. And clearly, this WAEC issue is one of the numerous evidence about the failure and legacy of Nana Addo as a leader.
MyJoyOnline.com. My team was against conceding early in the elections, Dr. Bawumia. I'm sure you followed. I will not get into the story like that because we already know. But he says, at the point where he wanted to concede, people were saying, no, wait till the EC has declared, and that no one has ever done this before. But he said, that there must always be a first time, and to reduce the tension in the country, let me go ahead and do this. That's an interesting bit because Dr. Omanibuama of the other side also says, well, he could have conceded earlier. So those are two bits in there. Then Lured for Love, this story I had to get into. Lured for Love, caged for cash. How an 80-year-old American seeking love was kidnapped in Ghana by a Nigerian gang.
Hey, wow.
So this one, it looks like cross-border, transnational. The signs were clear even at the outset, but blinded by love, 80-year-old Diana failed to see the telltale strappings blinking red over. It's quite an interesting story there. And on Tuesday, December 17, the magistrate court at Adabraka remanded two of the alleged kidnappers into police custody to reappear on January 9, 2025. The police, in the meantime, are on the heels of other suspected gang members. And it's another one of those romance scams. It's become very problematic. The bit I referenced earlier, Akufo-Addo partly to blame for NPP's defeat in 2024 election by Fanke Jakum. I think we've already got into that. Clementa Park says government is unfair to WAEC on the delay to release WAEC results. There's also, I didn't speak against holding wrongdoers accountable. Reverend Kojo Bempa clarifies oral comments, that is Operation Recover or Loot. You know, he had said something earlier. Now he's clarifying that he wasn't saying that wrongdoers shouldn't be held accountable. Any reflections on these?
I think...
Let me start with Kwame Nkrumah this time.
Yeah. So I will start with the last one about Reverend Kojo Bempa. I haven't really followed what he said, but I believe everybody is entitled to come and clarify, because we seem to be in an era where things are taken out of context. And I know that a lot of people are in support of oral, because corruption has really held us back a lot. And it's good he has come back to clarify, and I suppose what he's saying will give more credence to the oral, which is made up of some competent people there, even though I was hoping that there would be a few women with them. And then when we come to Dr. Omane Boama saying
Dr. Bawumia
should have. You know, I remember after the declaration of the results at the strong room, I was sitting behind him and I tapped him and I said, Doc, so you see that the auditing of the voters register was not necessary in the end. You see, the position of the CPP throughout was that this auditing is not necessary. And some were questioning why so. But, you know, being a party, a 75-year-old party, the oldest political party in this country, we can see through elections, even though we haven't done so well for some time, to know what is really necessary and what is not. If there had been this auditing, I'm sure we would not have even have had this election. It would have opened all kinds of unnecessary kinds of worms.
But you do admit there are problems that have to be addressed.
And those problems were addressed satisfactorily during the first live telecast of the IPAC meeting, where the EC IT experts took us through, and we're all satisfied. And even though NDC still pressed for the auditing, look at the results that they had. You see, so in that sense, I don't think, how could Dr. Bawumia have conceded earlier? I think he did his best. He conceded at the right time. And even though NDC...
I am with you on that page. I feel
exactly.
Give a man his flowers.
Exactly.
It's not happened for a leader in the Fourth Republic to do this before the EC declares. So you can say what you may, but at least be charitable. Give him his flowers. See, what he did, I feel, and I spoke about it for days, it was very good. It was top class.
Yes.
It diffused a lot of tension in the country. By which time, look, the parties knew. They knew what was happening.
Exactly.
Why would you sit on this powder keg waiting for it to explode? So I feel it's a bit of a low blow.
Exactly, and it's also it also puts the writing on the wall to the NDC that yes, you've had a big gap, but don't be complacent.
Yeah.
Don't be complacent, because leading up to the election, you had it wrong regarding the auditing. The election went in your favor.
Right.
There are a lot of competent gentlemen there. Keep your eye on the ball. Don't let the victory get
into
your head. Don't be intimidating people, going for keys from public toilets and all that. Do things differently. Both NPP and NDC have done things in a way that has reduced them to somewhat of maybe supporting football teams. Right. Go beyond that, and Ghanaians will back you so that you make us proud.
Okay, I see. Ghana for you. Someone sends me a message, and on the back of what you said, he says, Nanado has turned NPP to Osonong Ketenkete.
Is there any Osno which is coming?
The Indian elephant.
On the back of what he said, he has changed the face of what.
Oh, he's changed the spirit. He's changed the spirit of the party.
But any reflections on these as we get ready to wind?
I think you were both spot on. I think Ghanaians need to commend His Excellency Dr. Bawumia for his concession, and I think it was pretty quick. It was very, very quick, and it's unprecedented. And I think
when the 2024 election is remembered, especially at the presidential level, that act of selflessness, of class, of diplomacy, and of statesmanship will always be remembered.
But even of honesty. I think one of the biggest criticism on Dr. Bawumia is the fact that people claim that he is not honest. But I think it's also an act of honesty. That listen, we have our results. We don't need this, and I think it will bode him well. If he was looking into the future, I think it's the right decision he made, and I think Ghanaians won't forget what he did. On the issue of the oral, I think I have a different view. I know majority of people are excited.
I think that will be the final bit as we...
So I'm excited in terms of the principle that, listen, if there has been loots, and we all believe there have been loots, then they must be recovered and people must be held accountable. But I think it must be done well. And it will be done well if we allow the institutions that our laws have created, you understand, to undertake these duties, to work instead of creating parallel institutions. We've done that one too many. The Galamsey issue, there was a parallel what's called institution. We have Yoko, we have OSP, we have the CID. Let's strengthen those institutions to undertake this job of fighting corruption. It's not an excuse in the fight against corruption. It's not an excuse in a pursuit to recover properties of Ghana that has been looted by creating parallel institutions which are not backed by law. Yes, but at the end of the day, for us to deliver the kind of leadership that will benefit all of us, then it must be by the...
People have said that this will be something that every transition has to sort of prepare the way for. The question then is, the institutions that are supposed to act on these things, are they acting? You see, that's where the problem is. So I agree with you, don't create parallel institutions, but how do we fuse maybe the transitional work of oral into the mainstream rather than create another entity on its own to deal with some entities? Some have called for legislation to legalize oral and all that. I mean, there are so many ideas, but I think in the end, all we want is the tide of corruption to be stemmed and the matters to be dealt with.
Simple.
Case Yamutu. Simple. This one says, Mr. Host, my name is Benjamin. On the 9th December 2016, President Mahama conceded before the EC boss Charlotte Osei declared the results. Does any of you? I honestly don't fully recall. I do know that he conceded
some few hours, and the tension was.
But I don't know whether it was technically before. Honestly, I stand corrected on this one. I don't remember all of it, so I may have to go back into that. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining the conversation. It's been great having you joining the conversation. We had Kwame Nkrumah Botsio, General Secretary of the CPP, joining the conversation. We also had Andy Appiah Danquah, lawyer and member, Movement for Change, joining the conversation. Ni Lamle Lamte, you just sent a message, but you took it off. I think he was saying he was commending Kwame Nkrumah Botsio. Well, that's how we are capping off the news review this morning. I'll be telling you a bit more about Siru clothing, and this gentleman always makes me look very, very good on Fridays. I'm talking about Siru Africa. If you love what you're seeing, it's time for you to call that gentleman and order from him. The number to call is 0557 029 138. 0557 029-138. On social media, at Siru, SIRU-Africa on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. Now, after we serve you sports with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi, I'll be serving you my blunt thoughts, the final one for the year, and it's titled Political Misdiagnosis, Financial Paralysis, and Intellectual Necrosis. The circus we've turned governance into. You want to stay for that. Sports is up next.